Hey guys, it's Miss Leg, and today I'm going to talk to you about simple interest. So simple means it's not compound or complex, so it's just one formula today. And interest is when you determine the amount you make in savings or the amount you pay back when borrowing. So you may have heard the word interest before when your parents or a friend or family or somebody said they bought a house and they had to borrow money and they have an interest rate, okay? So if you borrow money from somebody, or a bank specifically, when you borrow money from a bank, you borrow the amount you need, but because you're borrowing it, okay, you have to pay interest on it. Interest is kind of like rent. So if you live in an apartment or a house that you rent, you pay to use it or you pay to stay there. So interest is like you're paying to borrow the money. So because somebody loans you money, you earn interest. The other way to earn interest is for a bank account. Okay, so if you have a savings account and you put money in and it sits there, because you are leaving your money there, the bank offers an interest rate so you can grow it. So if you borrow money, you owe them back for using it. But if you save money, they give you a little extra because you're keeping your money in their bank. Okay, that is going to be simple interest. Now, simple interest has a very specific formula, okay? I equals PRT. Say it again. I equals PRT. It's kind of got a little bit of a rhythm to it. I equals PRT. So, I stands for interest. I interest equals. Okay, this is an equation. P is going to stand for principal. Now, this is not principal like principal, like the guy who's at your school who's in charge. No. That is principal with a P-A-L. Principal is money, and that means your first or original starting point, okay? In this case, we're talking about price, your principal price, your first price. How much money did you start with? So if you're borrowing money, if you borrowed $100, that would be your start price, okay? R is your rate. Another way to say this is your percent. So when you hear interest rate, they usually say it has an interest rate of 4.2, 9.12, whatever. So the percent is your rate. Now, again, we're talking about money. So that means you're going to change your percent to a decimal. Okay? You're going to change your percent to a decimal. When you are in money form, all of your other numbers have to be in money or decimal form, okay? And the last one is going to be time. So interest equals price times your percent times your time, and your time has to be in years. The reason we do interest in years is because when you make these long-term investments, you borrow money or you put your money in a savings account, those are long term. So you're not going to put your money in today and then go get it out tomorrow. No. You're not going to borrow money today and then pay it back tomorrow because usually the money is large sums. So for example, if you bought a car, a lot of people don't have $32,000 in their pocket. So they borrow money to help you pay them. Because if you had it in your pocket, you wouldn't have borrowed it in the first place, okay? So these are long-term investments, so we go by years, okay? Let's do some examples. Okay, Robert deposited $550 into a bank account that pays 7% simple interest for 3 years. How much simple interest can he earn? Okay, so interest, they said it twice. Okay, because it is an interest problem, I know that because they use the word interest, I'm going to use my formula. I equals PRT. I equals PRT. I is what I'm looking for. I represents the interest. That's what I'm trying to find, okay? P is your principal, okay? That is your starting price. So I'm going to plug in my price. The money he put in is $550. Now, when you have these numbers like this, okay, because they are smushed together, the way they are smushed together, okay, that represents multiplication. When you have numbers like that, okay, when they represent it, that is times or multiplication. So I'm putting my numbers in parentheses here to represent multiplication, okay? Now, We also need to make our percent into a decimal. So I'm going to take 7%. I'm going to move my decimal 1, 2 times to the left, put a 0. So my percent is point. Do not forget your decimal. 0.07. Okay? So next we're going to multiply all of this out. Okay? So price times your percent as a decimal. And lastly, T is for time. We have 3 years. Price, percent, time. Principal, rate, time. Price, rate, time. Time is 3 years, okay? So you can plug those into your calculator on your phone or your computer or whatever. And when you multiply those out, you're going to get $115.50. So if you put this money in with this interest rate and you leave it there for 3 years and you don't touch it and you don't change a thing, without doing anything, without working, anything like that, literally leaving your money there, you earn $115.50, okay? So you just made money back. Okay, let's do one more example. Okay, Matthew invests $5,000 at a 3% interest. How much interest will he earn in 8 months? Okay, so what's the key word here? Interest. I'm going to circle interest. Okay, what's the formula for interest? I equals PRT. Okay, now we're going to take what we know, treat this like an equation. What are we looking for here? We're looking for interest. So I is what we're looking for. Okay, next is P. P is your principal or your price. What's your price here? $5,000. Okay, next is your R, your rate. PR, rate. So 3% is my rate. So I move my decimal 1, 2. So I have 0.03. Okay? PRT. I equals PRT. T is time. Now, time has to be in years. This is a long-term investment. So what happens when you have 8 months? Okay? This is what we do. If it's in months, we got to work in months, okay? So let's talk about how many months is in a year. 12, okay? So that means 1 whole year is 12 months. That means that 8 months is going to be less than 1 year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a fraction. I know I have 8 months out of 12, okay? Because that tells me 8 is how many I'm talking about. 12 would be my total, 8 out of 12. Now, I take that number and I turn it to a decimal, so 8 divided by 12. It actually gives me 0.6 repeating, but I'm just going to use 0.6 today, okay? So I divide it. I'm dividing it and I'm making it a decimal because we are in money form. Money is in decimal form. So I take 0.6 and I put it in my problem, okay? So interest is the price times the rate times the time. So technically the money sat in a bank account for 0.6 of a year, okay? So when we multiply all these out, we get around $90, okay? So he left his money in a bank or in an investment for 8 months at 3% and he made $90. Okay, please let me know if you have any questions and I hope this helped.